This episode of the Skiptown All-Stars Travel Podcast is sponsored by Manscaped. Summer is here, and if you're still rocking a neck sweater, head on over to manscaped.com and use the code SKIPTOWN for 20% off and free shipping on all of their popular grooming kits, like the Beard Hedger Pro Kit for a perfectly manicured face, or the Performance Package 5.0 Ultra with Manscaped's signature Lawnmower 5.0. It shreds body hair like a champ while leaving a baby-smooth finish. Head on over to manscaped.com and enter the code SKIPTOWN at checkout. Get your free shipping and your 20% off today. Now, on with the show.
Denise Gordon,
Yes.
Are you ready for this?
Yeah, I am.
Okay, good. Phil, we're doing Knoxville next.
Oh, so let me give you a little fun fact.
What is that?
One of my favorite wrestlers, you know, I'm a big wrestling fan, is the mayor of Knox County, which is, do you know Glenn Jacobs?
I've heard that name.
Do you want to know his wrestling name?
Yes.
Yes.
Kane.
Oh my gosh, really?
Yes, Kane.
Wait, the mayor of Knox County, mayor of an entire county. Is that just his title? He invented that?
I don't know. He actually has. Can't you be a mayor of a county? County mayor?
I think you
Yeah.
in an incorporated area? No, but that would mean you can't. You got to be mayor of a town.
No, you can be mayor of a county. We have Orange County mayor.
Oh, you do?
Yes.
Huh. Okay.
Wow.
Yeah. So he's the
News to me.
mayor.
Oh wow! Holy cow!
7 foot demon guy is now
No way.
a Republican. I mean,
Oh,
I
of
could've
course,
figured,
it's
but-
Tennessee.
Yeah, but yeah, he's
Do you remember Jesse the Body Ventura?
yeah, he was the governor of Minnesota.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So was he a good wrestler when he was a wrestler?
He is one of the greatest of all time.
Kane. Yeah.
Oh, seriously?
One of the greatest big men of all time too. Of all time, ever.
Oh, that's
He's
impressive.
like approaching Andre the Giant type status, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh.
him and the Undertaker were like synonymous together.
Oh, so
Yeah.
he's like a thing. He's not just like some guy who was a wrestler and became a politician. He like was a really good wrestler, ended his career, and then became a politician. He has 2 careers. That's so impressive.
And he still uses like some of his wrestling like
Moves on the Senate floor.
no, like his like logos and insignias and,
Oh,
and
yeah.
slogans or something like that, like
yeah,
the fire
let's check it
burns
out.
and all this stuff. Like
Are you
that's like,
serious?
yeah, it's totally awesome.
Oh my God.
That's a fun fact.
That is a fun fact. All right. Well, you've totally gotten us in the mood. Let's do Knoxville, Tennessee.
Check the mic and make sure it sound right, boys.
Hey listeners, ever wonder what it would be like to blow up your comfort zone at the tender age of 50? Well, we did just that. When our last kid went off to college, we hit the road in search of a new hometown. Now we bounce from city to city and bring you along for the ride. This is the Skiptown All-Stars podcast.
What's up, All-Stars? Welcome back to another episode of Skiptown All-Stars. We're going to get the house cleaning out of the way right away and tell you to like and subscribe if you're watching us on a YouTube channel. We appreciate your ratings on Spotify, your reviews on Apple Podcasts. Share the love. We out here in these streets. Give us a little love, won't you? How you doing today, Trixie?
I'm doing really well. One day I'm going to come in and say I'm doing terrible. And I'm going to throw you right off.
I know. Do you think people get confused? My pet name for you is Trixie when it's not your name at all. I guess I've never really explained why I call you that.
Do you even know why you call me that?
I don't. I think it's just like a 1950s term that I heard some guy call his wife at one point in history.
But you don't call me that anywhere outside of the studio.
I don't. It's pretty rare I call you that in our personal lives.
That's a little weird.
It is very weird. I agree with you.
I thought that's what you like called her at home.
No, he doesn't use it outside the studio.
I call her Big Maymay or Big Mama at home.
Not even haven't said that in years.
No, I haven't said that in years.
Like 10 years. Yeah.
I'm sorry, Trixie.
For what?
We got producer Phil in the booth with us today. What up?
I need a nickname now. For
I
the
know,
studio.
I gotta give you a nickname.
You gotta call me something like Pixie then.
How about Kip? Denise loves to call you Kip.
Oh, that's a good one.
We're just going to call him Kip.
Oh my God,
That's hilarious.
So
Okay.
wherever you're,
Hey.
wherever you're dropping in on us, Denise loves to call Phil Kip because he is the younger version of our good friend Kip that we've been friends with for like what, a quarter of a century now or something like that. And so because you can't see Kip anymore, we all moved away from each other. you like to call Phil Kip for some
It's the
reason.
weirdest thing.
At
It is.
random moments in the podcast.
It's only when I'm in the studio. Like you call me Trixie in the studio. I call him Kip because I text him. I call him on the phone. I talk about Phil when we're driving here, when we're at home. And I always say Phil. I never have ever said Kip. But the moment I walk in, I'm like, hey, Kip. It's the weirdest thing.
This room has some weird aura in it. This makes us act different, I guess.
It does.
Okay. That
I
makes
like
sense.
it. It's good energy.
It
makes
is.
for an interesting show.
Always.
Okay, so today we're talking about Knoxville, Tennessee. For those of you who've been paying attention, you know somewhere in the annals of Skiptown.
Look,
I know.
big word.
Waxing poetic here. Skiptown lore that James, and that would be me, I'm talking about myself in the third person all of a sudden, like I'm a pro athlete or something, that I worked in Knoxville in 2012, somewhere around that area, right? For a company there, was being courted for a job, thought we would get lured away from LA way sooner than we did. Went there, worked. We couldn't make it work out. It was a great company, nice people, everything. But ultimately went back to LA. And ever since we went back to LA, Knoxville has always sort of been in the back of my mind. Like, is this the town that got away from me? So that's where we're at right now.
Agreed. It is true. Ever since he left Knoxville in 2012, I've heard about it probably once every couple of years, how we should have given it a chance. Maybe it would have worked out. What if? And so when we started on this adventure of looking for a new hometown, he had mentioned Knoxville more than once. But in the years, Knoxville has really grown. And with that has come higher real estate. And I just honestly have not been open to visiting Knoxville because what's the point? Like, it's no longer under the radar. In 2012, it was under the radar. In 2023, you say Knoxville and to anyone, a group of 10 people, and at least half of them will say, oh, Knoxville, Tennessee. In 2012, no one knew what the heck you were talking about if you said Knoxville. So for me, I wasn't much interested, but I did want to entertain it only because you had said over and over again, we really should give it another look.
Yeah, I mean, we were in that part of the country. We were staying with our friends, Bert and Jenna, in Covington. And so that's sort of where I launched my little journey to Tennessee. You were just fresh on your way to the girls' trip in Utah that we did in another episode. And so I was kind of just winging it and doing my own thing and driving through the Bourbon Trail in Kentucky and driving past Lexington and all sorts of places, seeing the rolling hills there, a lot of greenery, everything on my way to not Knoxville. As it turns out, we have a listener and a follower on Instagram, Haunted Murfreesboro.
Yes. So Jen, who is the proprietor of that business, reached out to me. Oh my gosh, it has to be a year now.
Yeah.
I think she heard us from Leanne Kreischer's show. I can't remember, or I'm trying to think. I think maybe it was Leanne's. I'm not 100% sure, but she found us through someone. And she reached out and said, oh, if you're ever in this part of the country, come to Tennessee. I'd love to host you for one of our tours. And as kind as she was for that offer, when you're a small business and you reach out to us, we're never going to take your money for free. We just don't. And so, you know, I immediately responded back and said, thank you so much. If we ever make it to Tennessee, we will definitely look you up. And that was such a long time ago. I said to James, let me just see if she's still in business. And sure enough, I went, to her Instagram. She was still in business. And I said, you've got to check out this haunted tour. I will reach out to her to let her know that I won't be there, but one of the Skiptown All-Stars will be. And so that's kind of how it happened. But you caught her before I even did, because you reached out to her while I was on a plane headed to Utah.
I did, actually. I figured if you were going to go on your little spring break trip, I was going to take a diversion myself. And so, you had mentioned it to me before in the past. I went to the website and, she offered to host and everything, which was really nice. And it's great when corporations do that for us. But her tickets were only like $28 a pop. And I'm like, there's no way I'm doing this as a freebie. So, Thanks for the offer, Jen. But I was really excited to head toward Murfreesboro. I had a friend that lived there once a long time ago. For those of you that know, you know it's outside of Nashville. It's kind of south of Nashville. And after going through Kentucky, I went down the freeway through Nashville, heading toward Murfreesboro. And I got to be honest, there was a part of me, I did not know where Nashville ended and any of the other cities or towns in that area began. It just all, like, we'll talk about Knoxville in a minute, but if you want to talk about a city exploding since the last time we've been there, I promise you Nashville is unrecognizable to you.
That's so sad.
It's massive. It's so big.
We were in Nashville. What year was it? Was it 2010?
2008, 2009, 10, something like that, yeah.
Yeah, and at that point, it was Nashville, and it was really a great visit. We brought the girls with us, plenty of greenery all around, plenty of rural areas. We went driving one day just all throughout Nashville. Broadway area downtown was exactly what we had anticipated. But to hear now that you can't tell where Nashville ends and Murfreesboro, am I saying it right? Murfreesboro?
Well, there's another town in between there too. There's another town in between there too, whose name escapes me. But yeah, it was like Nashville, bang, bang, Murfreesboro. And like I said, I mean, I don't know. It looked all the same to me. I mean, there were Best Buys everywhere. So,
That's a bummer.
It was. I was still excited, obviously, because obviously they're doing a haunted tour. I knew enough about the old town or the downtown of Murfreesboro to know that, there are obviously some buildings that have been around there since the 1800s and everything. So,
well, it's funny because when she started following us and offered to do a tour for us, the first thing I said, one, I've never heard of Murfreesboro.
Right.
And so I said, where are you? And she's like, right outside of Nashville. And I said, is it really haunted? Because I didn't know she was a proprietor. I had no idea. I just thought she worked for a haunted company.
Right.
And it was, obviously I learned that she was a proprietor later. And
what does that mean? What's a proprietor?
The business owner.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
The business owner.
proprietor.
Sounds fancy.
It does. It is fancy.
Let me keep my fancy word.
You're educated.
Go ahead.
So she said, yeah, it is haunted. I absolutely. And I was like, oh, okay, when we make it over here, I want to get scared. So I'm going.
Yeah. So I arrived and I checked into, I don't know what it was, a Home by Hilton or something like that. I did a corporate chain hotel for that. I was only going to stay there for a night. I was going to do the tour and then get out to Knoxville the next morning so that I could be there on a Sunday to relax and check out Knoxville and all that. So where I originally pulled up, it felt sort of like an industrial / hotel park or office park type setting. Sort of buildings sprawled out everywhere and everything. And I was like, okay, well, there's nothing to look at here, but this is the hotel I booked. So it's only one night. Let me roll up. So I met Jen afterward at a place called Milano's, which is in the older section of downtown. And it's an Italian restaurant that used to be a funeral parlor. Nice.
Was there a casket anywhere?
There was not a casket.
Oh, see,
anywhere.
they should have had one on display. No,
total themed. You gotta theme it.
Agreed. If you're going to buy a funeral parlor and turn it into a restaurant, you should make a booth out of the casket.
You think so?
Or a table, right?
Yeah.
Have a glass top table and have an open casket underneath it. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, no, you got to do it upright.
I think you guys have both been spending too much time in Orlando.
I think that's a perfectly marketable idea. And while you guys are talking, I'm going to talk to ChatGPT and I'm going to make a logo for this pizza parlor / funeral home.
It was Italian restaurant.
Italian restaurant.
Clear.
Sorry,
Yeah.
Italian restaurant.
It was actual.
Okay, here we go.
The cuisine was really tasty.
So you guys do.
So
I'll do
You're
that.
going to work on that while I'm talking?
Yeah.
Okay. So we started the tour from there. There was another couple that was doing the tour with me. And so there were three of us. I was holding a GoPro. So eventually this will be some sort of vignette on YouTube or maybe something on, social media or what have you. So for that reason, I could not be the one to hold the little paranormal Geiger counter.
Oh, she had one?
She did. And so the gentleman who was, the husband of the couple, he was nice enough to be the guinea pig for all of us to determine where the paranormal activity for the evening was going to be.
Did it point toward you?
It did not point toward me. That I'm aware. And so the tour was great. We went around the downtown area. The biggest thing was just, when you're doing these ghost tours, the biggest thing is just also learning like the local history of the place. And I always find it's so weird. Like, I think we're weird. It's a very LA or maybe big city thing or whatever. But
You start laughing.
I don't want to hear about, like, sure, if there's a ghost here that used to be like, she was a seamstress or something. I don't want to hear about that. I want to hear about how the back rooms in the county courthouse were used for gambling and all kinds of seedy behavior. Because for me, I'm like, oh, those are the real stories. And if those are really the ghosts haunting the hallways, that just makes it way more interesting, So, sure enough, the old Rutherford County Courthouse, it was both a hospital and a prison at various times in its history.
Oh, that's another fusion now I got to do. We got to do hospital and prison?
You got to do a hospital
so I got to do
prison.
Italian restaurant and funeral, and now I got to do a hospital and prison. Okay.
According to one of the websites, I was just reading up on a little bit of history about the courthouse well after my tour with Jen. And, there's this term that they kind of use in the South to refer to the Civil War. They call it the War of Northern Aggression. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
I've seen it pop up on various
The
websites.
War of Northern Aggression.
Yes, as if the North were the
I know.
aggressors.
Yeah, I was just gonna say,
as they wanted to shred the nation into two parts. Yeah, all because they wanted free labor. Yeah. So anyway, I thought that was funny on one of the websites. But the courthouse itself, because of being a hospital and a prison during the Civil War, is
a lot of death.
Said to be a hotbed of paranormal activity. Yeah.
Did the Geiger counter go off?
We like the way the courthouse is laid out. You can go on the lawn and everything. We didn't go up the steps really.
Oh. Okay. You weren't inside.
No. Oh no, we were doing the tour at dark, so the courthouse was closed.
Oh, that's right.
So,
it's going to be a haunted tour, so it's going to be at dark.
It's going to be a little spooky, a little scary.
Course. Yeah. Did you wear a Jason mask?
I did not. I did not want to make that Jen's first impression of me. No.
Oh, all right.
Yeah. So there is a report in the courthouse that one guy, a living guy, not a ghost, was actually pushed down the stairs
and turned into
died.
A ghost. So he turned into a ghost.
By a ghost.
Oh.
Yeah. How about that? So that's like some poltergeist stuff, right?
He was pushed down the stairs by a ghost.
A non-entity, yes. And by a non-person.
He died?
And he died.
Is he now a ghost?
I would imagine so, somewhere in the universe.
Okay.
They also, for those of you who don't know, which is probably everybody, Murfreesboro was sort of a hub for the Tennessee Railway. A lot of supplies coming in and out. There was actually a battle of Murfreesboro fought in the Civil War, yeah. So there was a lot of activity there. Before the Union soldiers took over, there's an oak tree in the front that was basically the hanging tree. And they would use that to hang slaves, which I'm not a fan of. But after the Union soldiers took over, they would use that to hang Confederate soldiers, which I kind of am a fan of. So
is the tree still there?
The tree is definitely still there. It looks spooky as hell. I'm not going to lie. Like, when you think about all
that
the
tree
stuff,
is really old.
It
Wow.
is. It's old. It's big. It's old. It's massive. So
Holy cow.
we'll throw a photo up for those of you watching on YouTube. You can check it out. Everybody else just hit the Google. And that really, it really is right there in the center of town too. Like, there are streets that go around it.
Wow.
It sits right dead center in the middle of town. So, no pun intended. Like what I did there.
I didn't even catch
You
it. That
don't
was so clever.
You don't like it.
That was so
you don't
clever.
Even pay attention to me. Another is this store. I guess there's this like store where a famous gambler named Mr. Jackson haunts the back room. And I'm pretty sure this is the story Jen told me. The shop owner sensed that there was a presence there and left a glass of water on the shelf in the back room. And the next morning she came in. She went home for the night. The next morning she came in and that glass was ground into dust on the floor. And some other night, she left a similar glass filled with whiskey, and she came back the next morning and the whiskey was gone.
Was the glass
The
ground?
glass was still fine.
Oh, he liked the whiskey.
He liked the whiskey. There were a handful of other stories. It was a fun tour. I'm glad I did the tour and everything, but I have to be honest. The scariest thing about Murfreesboro is Murfreesboro. It is
that bad.
I woke up the next morning and was sort of just as desensitized to the entire layout of the town as I was the day before when I rode in. I did a drive all through Murfreesboro. It is miles and miles of Chipotle's and Walmarts, and I mean just
Planned communities.
stamping them out. I mean, just if you thought Greenville, South Carolina was developed, you've never been to Murfreesboro, and it's a fraction of the size. So it's
People are moving there. I mean, here's the thing: like, you can be mad about development upon development, but the truth is they're doing it because there's a need for it, I guess. Right? Like, I'm not a developer. I'm not a real estate person. I'm guessing somebody's going to buy these houses, right? It just destroys a town. It literally destroys a town. How'd they get away with that?
Well, it's as told to me by some of the locals. So I went to a place called Burrow Bourbon and Brews after my tour with Jen, and I was sitting there having a beer. And great place, by the way, if you're ever in Murfreesboro. It's a good place to get a drink. I think there's always a live band playing. There certainly was the night I was there. And the music was great. The crowd is friendly, all that stuff. The few locals I talked to are sort of incensed at what their town has turned into in the past 20 years. Their mayor, who's been in office since 2006, I guess, was a builder.
Oh. Okay,
Yeah.
So that's the mouse in charge of the cheese.
Exactly. And so
That's so awful.
they just stamped out and greenlit like approval after approval of building everywhere you go, to the point where, everybody who is from there says that, I mean, this place is so not recognizable, not desirable, and in many ways unaffordable for the rest of us.
Okay, so not recognizable, not desirable, but it is desirable because it's unaffordable. So
Okay.
somebody's moving in there. Is it like Nashville? Like, in the sense of, is it really honestly just an extension now of Nashville?
I feel that way.
Okay.
It kind of reminds me of, when we were talking in our Colorado episode, where we sort of figured that Denver and Colorado Springs are eventually going to meet each other in the middle.
Oh, yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
So this is like that on steroids. Like, seriously, like, there's so much building going on everywhere.
Well, it's funny you say that, because I posted, what did I post? Something on Instagram. I can't remember what it was. Had to do with our trip to Tennessee, a little prelude, if it was a story or a post of like, here's where we are right now. And your friend, Tim Wilsbach,
Oh, yeah.
he said to me, oh my gosh, if you're ever going to go to Tennessee, skip Murfreesboro, basically is what he said. And I said, funny you should say that. Or he said something along the lines of Murfreesboro. And he didn't say skip it. And I'll tell, because I did not know from his comment if he was pro Murfreesboro or not pro Murfreesboro. The way he said it was very generic, like, oh, well, if you stumble upon Murfreesboro, that's where my family lives. And I just made a very generic statement back saying, yes, we did. It had a little bit too much traffic, blah, blah. And he wrote back, was like, that place is terrible. Don't ever move there. He's like, it's awful. And I was like, okay, I can speak freely now. I'm like, yeah. James did not like it.
He's not lying. I mean, it is terrible. So right now, I guess the city of just Murfreesboro is talking about planning their own metropolitan planning organization for road projects. And you know what that means.
Wow.
First off, it means two things. Number one, it's grown so fast that the streets haven't been able to keep up with the growth. Mm-hmm. And what it also means is they're going to make bigger roads or do better road planning projects, which are going to be more streets for even more people. Mm-hmm. Think, if you will, about the time between when our oldest daughter went off to Boise State and when she graduated, those 4 years that we saw all that explosive growth outside of the city limits of Boise, right? Meridian, all those places. Idaho basically turned into a smaller version of Orange County, California.
Mm-hmm.
All the red-minded, like Republican people in OC wanted to move to a red state. I think that's what has totally happened here in Murfreesboro to a much, much higher degree than you and I have seen in some of the
Where
other
are these
states.
people coming from?
If I
They
were
have
to
to have
say,
people with money, so are they big city people?
yeah, I mean, like it's new builds. Everything's new. So yeah, I think it is probably people from New York, New Jersey, California, Illinois, wherever, who have come there with a bit of money in their pocket and
Wow.
aren't afraid to pay top dollar for new construction. And the trade-off for that is that they get a new house. They don't care about strip malls. In fact, it makes life more convenient for them. So it doesn't matter this kind of this soulless corporate hellhole. And what they also get are their conservative values, and especially if they're church-minded, if they're evangelicals or whatever, any sort of Protestantism is obviously huge in this region. So that's my theory on why Murfreesboro is not a place I would ever in a million years want to live myself personally. But hey, more power to you if you do.
Okay, so that aside, did they have good music? If it's an extension of Nashville, there had to be music everywhere.
They may have like music at the local Applebee's or Chili's or something. I have no
Holy
idea.
cow, it's that bad.
I only saw.
Wow, it's that bad.
I saw a dance club. Okay, so I did see a country western bar where they do like line dancing in the downtown area. There's a place I went, and there are a couple more small bars there and everything. Those were the best places I saw. I'm sure somebody would say, "Oh, there's so-and-so's country western club on Route 28 or whatever," but I wasn't about to see that stuff.
Well,
it wasn't immediately apparent.
There is a place that you missed.
What is it?
So I talked to ChatGPT,
oh,
Okay.
and I want to present to you guys our brand new restaurant.
Okay, let's
right?
see it.
Our brand new restaurant is going to be called Eternal Feast, where your hunger gets laid to rest. Okay,
That is
this
brilliant.
is a mixture of Italian restaurant and funeral parlor. So we have the nice setting here. Take a look at that.
Oh, very gothic.
Yeah, I got a Undertaker flipping the pizza
Oh, nice.
and buffet style pizza. So,
oh my
That's
God,
brilliant.
you went there.
so this is
Are those deep dishes inside that coffin?
they look like it. So yeah, so
my
we
gosh.
have this is
that's
think-
brilliant.
You're
I
from
wanna-
Chicago. Would you eat one
Oh,
of those pizzas?
100%.
Eternal
This is
Feast.
Eternal Feast is a fantastic
Yeah.
name. Restaurant and a funeral parlor,
Where your
Italian
hunger
shop.
is laid to
Yeah,
rest?
well, your hunger's
Chat-
laid to rest. Now I made that up.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah. You're
good
crafty
one.
like that.
You Phil, you're better than Chat GPT.
You are?
I'm
Yeah.
Phil GPT.
You
pretty
you are Phil GPT. That's great. Okay, keep that idea and put that in a little folder.
right.
3 of us may be going into business together. Who's gonna cook?
2 of us. I will not be a part of that.
Oh,
I'm
you
sorry.
always have problems
No, I'm
washing
not doing
dishes.
food.
I know.
Living or dead, I'm not doing restaurants.
Fine.
Sorry.
All right, Phil and I will have to get our brains together and figure this one out.
Okay.
Yeah. Eternal Feast. That's brilliant. Thank you, Phil.
That is a great name. Gotcha. Okay, so
All right, so you're done with Murfreesboro.
I
even-
woke up and after driving around for about an hour and a half, I could not wait to get the hell out of there. It was-
I've been there. I've been there in
I
places.
just, we had a bad run in Roswell, New Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
Murfreesboro is my number 2.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. Oh, gosh. Okay.
Yeah.
All
Top
right.
10 places, top 1,000 places to never visit in your life.
Murfreesboro
How about
and
that?
Roswell.
Yeah.
All right. So where'd you go to next?
So I
Because you're headed to Knoxville.
I was headed to Knoxville, kind of, sort of. When I put the route up from where I was in Murfreesboro, I was in the southern part of the city. And so Siri was nice enough to maybe recommend a more scenic route across the southern side of Tennessee on my way to Knoxville. It added an hour to my trip, but it put me through the heart of Chattanooga. And you and I had passed Chattanooga. I don't know if you remember, but when we left North Carolina once on our way to Nashville, we drove maybe 20 or 30 miles past Chattanooga.
Yeah, I do not remember that.
You don't remember that. We never saw the city. So it was a Sunday afternoon at that point by the time I got there. And this is not the Chattanooga episode, but I can fully predict there will be a Chattanooga episode in the future.
You liked it that much?
I loved what I saw. I drove around for about 2 hours.
Oh.
Tired of driving at that point. But
was it Strip Mall Haven?
it was not Strip Mall Haven. They had a cool downtown.
Wow.
There are a few bridges that cross the Tennessee River, and on both banks, it's Chattanooga on both sides. And so
Nice.
lots and lots of outdoor activities, parks, obviously your entertainment complexes, restaurant, bars, all that stuff.
Not a lot of chain restaurants?
I mean, I'm sure there are some, like on the
But in
city
the downtown
limits.
area, you weren't seeing that. You were seeing like
Not a
cooler-
ton.
Got it.
No. It seemed like a lot more small businesses there. A lot of brickwork in the streets.
Pretty.
Yeah.
Okay.
It looked cool. It looked rustic. It looked sort of, it looked country in that,
but not too country.
not that Texas kind of way, but,
Got it. Yeah.
in like, there's a very,
South kind of way.
what is it about Tennessee, though, specifically? It's like, it's not cowboy hat country, but there is sort of like the pearl buttons on shirts. Like there's a little
Like bougie,
honky
like
tonk.
bougie country.
A little bit. I mean, with Nashville and stuff, of course, like
Memphis.
rhinestones and all that. But there's just a honky tonk sort of feel to Tennessee.
Is it
in my
because of Elvis?
Elvis is Tennessee, 100%. So is
Yeah,
it the
Memphis.
Elvis? Is it the Elvis feel?
It is. It's kind of like
I get honky tonk. I know what you mean.
It's kind of like where rock meets country. That's what the whole state feels like to me. Does that make sense?
Yes, 100%.
So-
So it's like plaid shirts, buttons, tattoos.
Yeah.
Got it.
Like bluebird tattoos on the neck, kind of place. And people who can they can play guitars and banjos.
Wow.
And they're so good, like everywhere,
Can you play guitar?
very poorly. I don't practice at all. I'm just so inconsistent. So not good.
Darn.
Yeah. Sorry. Do you?
No.
Oh, okay. What you want me to, you want me to serenade everybody?
Yeah, bro. I think guitar and piano are got to be like the two hardest
Yeah.
instruments to play. I'll actually watch somebody it is literally like, I mean, you guys seen people play guitar, so it's you're mesmerized, especially
Yeah.
with all the
Yeah.
sounds that comes out of it. So
Yeah.
yeah, if I could choose to play, I would either be piano or guitar.
Yeah.
Agreed. I always wanted to learn the piano.
And there's just a certain playing style. Like, I'm not a bluegrass or country person per se, but there's just a playing style that's involved with it. It's so intricate, and you just like you said, it's like voodoo. You start watching their finger work and everything as they're going through it. It's pretty awesome. So I don't know. Tennessee has a coolness to it and I don't think it's just the moonshine talking.
Oh, okay. Tennessee has a coolness, but not like a busy Nashville. Like, you don't want to do a Nashville cool. You'd want to do like an understated cool. Is that what I'm seeing? That I'm getting here? An understated cool?
Yeah.
Is
Okay.
it like because I'm getting a little bit of Austin vibes, but more on the countryside.
Oh,
Perhaps.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah?
I mean, I would definitely say, I know for a fact, spoiler alert, Chattanooga and Knoxville proper, just the city limits, are like little blue dots in a red sea. So that makes sense. It would track totally with Austin, which is also a blue dot in a very big red sea. So it does have that vibe where you sort of have people of all persuasions.
more eclectic.
Yeah, more political beliefs. Some conservative, some so liberal. Doesn't matter. We're all playing music. Let's all get down.
If you see an Asian guy with a handlebar mustache, then you know.
That'd be
Oh.
awesome.
Did you see that?
I did not,
You
but I
would've.
think it's
You would have.
feasible.
I think it's feasible too.
Especially
I
in
do.
Knoxville, you could see that.
100%. Yes. Okay, so Chattanooga. So that's going to be on our list.
Chattanooga,
How far is it from Knoxville?
2 hours,
Okay, not bad.
Yeah.
And how far is it from Nashville?
about an hour and a half, 2 hours.
So it's right in the middle
It was
of
like a
both.
3-hour trip.
It's right in the middle of both.
Yeah. Well, Nashville's probably a little further. Yeah, 2 hours. Yeah, it is. It's actually on the southern end of the state. It's like right up against the Georgia line.
Okay.
Yeah. So I did a little drive-by in Chattanooga, and it was awesome.
We'll have to go back.
Yeah. And then made my way up to Knoxville. Now, obviously, I knew Knoxville, having been there. I spent almost a month there, way back in the day.
Yeah. Did you remember it though? Like, did you remember where the town was located? Because when I went back, it was like
You turned around.
Not forget turned around. It was like I'd never been there. I did not remember much about that place other than the university.
Yeah.
And that was honestly it. And I remember a little bit about the, I'm going to say southern part of the town, which may very well be the northern part where all the railroad tracks were. That's all I really remembered about Knoxville.
Oh, Old City?
Yes, that's all I remembered. I didn't remember, like geographically, I couldn't remember anything about it. And I drove that city for a week. So when you
did. You were there with me for a week.
Yeah. So when you got there, did it come right back, like got up on that bike again, you knew it, or did you need to be refreshed?
For the most part, yes. I remembered where everything was. It did take me a while to figure out where the office was, where I had worked on that one project.
Yeah.
But for the most part, I mean, just driving into the town, you have right out of the gate, you can see the Sun Sphere from the World Fair Park that has been there since 1982. They had the World Fair there.
I remembered that, yes.
It's really iconic. You cannot think of Knoxville without thinking of that structure. We have a photo of it somewhere, Phil, if you want to throw it up. So
there we go.
there it is. That was fast. You're Johnny on the spot.
Yeah.
With your handlebar mustache. I love it.
I wish I could grow one.
But there it is. Yeah, there's World Fair Park. And for those of you listening, I guess you just have to play along for a second. But I think many of you know what it looks like. That park has sort of installations inside there from the Scripps Network and HGTV, I believe. They had... I believe they had done the flower beds and some other art installations or whatever in that park at one time. I don't know if they're still there, but Scripps Network has a huge, like at one time, I think their headquarters were in Knoxville.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, I know it's definitely one of their first TV stations, and especially like one of their cable endeavors started in both Indiana and I believe Knoxville.
Okay.
So, and I should mention the whole thing that got me to Knoxville in the first place is I don't know if it's still the case, but there was a time when Knoxville was the third highest producing cable show city in America. So it went Los Angeles, it went Chicago, maybe Chicago or New York, I'm not sure. I guess probably New York, LA, New York, and then Knoxville.
Well, because HGTV created so much, so that took a big, and they're out of Knoxville. I don't know if they are still, but
You know, do you remember TNN?
yeah,
Oh, yeah.
Turner Network.
No, the Nashville Network.
The Nashville Network, yes.
You said Turner?
No, it's a TNN, not TNT.
Oh, okay, yeah.
TNN.
What's T stand for?
The.
Oh, Nashville.
But
I'm expecting you to say Tennessee. We're talking Tennessee.
A lot of my car shows that I watched, like Stacy David and Gears, they all shot in Tennessee. They all shot their shows in there. So
on the TNN network.
Yeah, which is eventually was Spike TV. It turned into Spike TV.
Oh, okay, okay.
But yeah, I watched all those shows, and they always I'm like, where are they filming? They film all in Tennessee.
Tennessee.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think HGTV is in Knoxville anymore because I'm pretty sure it's a Discovery Network's channel now.
Okay.
So they were eaten up by that whole monolith.
All right, so tell us a little bit about Knoxville. I want to get right to it. So, did it feel like the Knoxville from 2012?
I will say that having been all the places we've been in the last couple years, it wasn't as magical as I remembered it out of the gate. I did remember all the places. There's Market Square where all the restaurants are. You and I had breakfast there or brunch or whatever. Oh, you and I had meatloaf there.
We did have meatloaf.
Did you have meatloaf?
I had meatloaf.
Wait,
meatloaf is that?
I love meatloaf.
Oh,
do you like sauce?
We were going to ask you
or gravy.
Did we talk about this before?
No.
Oh, we didn't.
I think we talked about meatloaf.
I talked about this with somebody.
Maybe off air.
Maybe I'm red sauce, like a red tomato sauce base, like ketchup based.
Okay.
I'll do brown gravy, but I do prefer the tomato ketchup based sauce over it.
Okay, what about you?
To the point where she actually put some on because we had brown gravy that day, and she put ketchup on. She put ketchup on the gravy side.
I've done that too.
We are so much alike. I know. I'm like the
but
white.
you guys are twins.
I'm the white feminine version of you.
Exactly. There you go. But I like it with the brown gravy as well. Only if it has mashed potatoes. If mashed potatoes is not the side, give me the red. The red.
Because you like to mix the gravy.
I destroy everything together and then put it in my mouth.
If with gravy and mashed potatoes, I agree with you. If it's you got a meatloaf sandwich then before.
Yeah. Come on. Yeah.
Then I prefer red. I can do either way, but
No, if I
actually prefer the gravy.
If I do a meatloaf sandwich, it's white bread with mayo and salt and pepper.
But it's red or
it's really good.
What if it has a red sauce on it?
With the red sauce, it's good.
Yeah, especially with the mayo.
Oh, it's so good. Yeah.
I'm hungry now.
All I care about is it's more meat than loaf. So if it's too loafy and it's bready or whatever what they mix it in? Breadcrumbs?
Yes, it's breadcrumbs. Yeah.
If it's too breadcrumby, forget it.
Yeah, so we had meatloaf for lunch there at the Square. I remembered the Square differently, but go ahead. So you remembered the Square the same. What else did you remember the same?
Gay Street, which is the sort of main thoroughfare right there. That's right, I said it. Gay Street.
That's what it's actually called? Or are you just calling it?
Is it G-A-Y-E or is it G-A-Y?
It's G-A-Y, named after some gay guy. It's some, I don't know.
Do you think it used to be Boys Town Street?
No, I don't. I think, I think it harkens back to an
look
era.
at you.
I know. I think it harkens back to an era where the word gay didn't have the same meaning as it has today.
It was happy.
Is it a rainbow sign? Street sign?
I'm sure there were not on the street sign, no.
Oh.
He's asking if the gay is the gay. I'm saying the gay is the happy.
Yeah.
Oh.
I think they use it as a gay happy, not gay.
Yeah.
Well, that means happy too.
It sure does.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think
every gay I know is very happy.
That is true.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so because their Gay Street is like Nashville's Broadway.
Yeah. Very similar.
Yeah.
A lot of music.
Theaters.
The Tennessee Theater is there. It's a great place to go see a show. I did not see one this time around there, but I saw one back in 2012 there. It's a great little quaint theater. It's a lot of fun. Yeah, the whole street is kind of the same vibe. I mean, little country bars, music. You can hear music at various points in the day. And so...
It's funny because I'm thinking as you're talking right now about the phone conversation that we had when I was in Utah.
Yeah.
And I had said to you, how's it going? And you responded with like, it's not exactly as I remembered it, which I knew it wouldn't be. So I landed and, I kind of had a feeling what our conversation in the car was going to be. But before you even started
it sort of cooled a bit.
Yes, before you started in on the sad story that it wasn't the Knoxville you had remembered, I did say to you, I think we should give this place a look. And you were like, what?
Yeah, I was not expecting that.
No, you actually, your head just like swiveled. You're like, wait, where's this coming from?
Yeah.
So we did.
We actually did. Yeah. You were the impetus for us finding a couple houses to look at.
Yeah. I know it wasn't exactly how you had remembered it. And there were certain things that I remember differently, like the Square. I remember the Square being bigger. I remember it being not as, I don't know, the Square seemed so vacant. Like a lot of the stores weren't, a lot of the storefronts were empty. And I don't remember that last time. I remember all the storefronts being, had
full and
businesses.
And all that,
like this to me seemed like, I remember thinking to myself, where's everyone here? They must be somewhere else. Because when I came to Knoxville in 2012, the Square was the place to be. It's a pedestrian walking area, and it's legitimately like a square, a rectangle, and all the businesses are around it. And in the center is greenery and cement, and they have open air concerts there.
Yeah, they have a stage there where they do Sundown on the City or something like that as a concert
but there weren't very many people around. We were there at lunchtime on a Friday, and I was like, where is everyone? And then we went one street over, and I think Gay Street is I'm guessing Gay Street is now the place to go because that's where everyone was.
There were a lot more people out that day, yeah. The one thing, though, in fairness, like we have to think about is what time of day you visited Market Square the first time we were there. And we have no way of remembering that. But
I remember there was for a week. And
there
it was like
are
Monday,
a lot
Thursday.
of bars there that were not open at the time we were there for lunchtime. So,
but in any case, so
there were a couple empty storefronts, though. You're right.
The one thing that I liked about it when we were exploring it was that there was still places to be had. There was still places that felt like they hadn't been overdeveloped.
Right.
They had like it was like still open road in some ways.
You're talking communities now. Okay.
Well, yeah, areas outside of Knoxville, which are still Knoxville common, like Knoxville in the address, Knoxville, Tennessee, but little areas outside that still felt like, okay, we're still in Tennessee. Because you didn't feel that in Murfreesboro. You didn't feel that way in Nashville.
Not at all.
Yeah, you were like,
Oh
I'm
my
just in a
God,
city. And in Knoxville, it felt like we had a little bit of the city feel, but you can still have an open space.
There are a lot more condos and sort of downtown multi-use living areas in Knoxville than there were when we were there the first time.
Yeah, that's true.
But
that is
to your point, it has by and large as a city retained a lot of its charm that was there 14 years ago, 12 years ago, whatever the math is.
I mean, obviously the house prices have increased. There's no lie. When we were there, okay, here's something that's going to blow everyone's mind.
This is what makes me feel like it was always the one that got away. Go on.
I know. We had an opportunity to buy a brand new house. It was just completed. In fact, it wasn't even done. He was finishing the interior, and it was 3,500 square feet. It was...
That's big.
Yeah. It was 4 floors or 3 floors.
It was built into a hillside, so there was a basement and an attic. The attic could have also been turned into usable space.
And the house was going for $400,000.
Can I move in with y'all? I mean,
we can't move there right now.
You wouldn't have even seen us there.
I don't know if we could even afford that house right now, but back then in 2012, it was $400,000.
And the lot next to him, what had not been built, it was right around the time, like... Builders were still having a hard time coming out of the recession from 2008, 2009 at that time. And he just, for whatever reason, this property that he built wasn't moving to the point where the lot right next to it that was supposed to also be built, he just had canceled that house there. And he offered us that second parcel of land for another $50K. So we would have had twice as big a yard.
So to put it in perspective, at the time that we were looking at this house, had James taken this job offer, the house we purchased in Los Angeles was $339,000, and we had 1,600 square feet.
Yeah.
This house was $400,000, and it was 3,500 square feet with about a half an acre.
Yeah, that's realistic. Yeah. Built on a hillside.
Brand new.
Looking out over a valley, lots of forest all around.
Brand new. Our house was
brand new.
Literally 100 years old in LA.
So what happened? Why didn't you buy it?
Well, the job offer was not enough to make me feel comfortable giving up my network in LA, because at that point I was like 10 years into my career, and I knew it was, obviously nobody was working remotely at that point.
That's okay.
And so
that's it.
I would have been giving up union shows where my family gets their health care. And I would have been paying now for the health insurance was really
quite expensive.
It was like $650 a month. I'm sure it would have only gone up. And
I don't think it was that much. It was like $400.
No, it was $650. I remember it. It was a deal breaker. It was a thing that broke the camel's back.
You had to buy their health insurance.
Exactly.
That's right. I remember.
Because they were a small business.
Yeah.
So that part hurt. And that is actually what made it an easy decision for me, because I knew at that point, okay, this blows the budget for us because we can't afford that house we want up on the hill.
Oh, no, we wouldn't
because of
be
our
able.
health insurance.
Yeah, even if we sold our house, I mean, if we sold our house, let's say, I think we'd only been in that house for like 5 years, maybe 7 years, maybe. So if we sold the house and even sold it for $400,000, let's say we made $60,000 on it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm guessing. I have no idea. At that point, we
It's
would gotten
before LA had totally exploded.
So let's say we got $400,000 for it. We could have bought that other house, but it wouldn't have been mortgage free. We would have had a mortgage, and we didn't know what this job was like. He had so much that he was giving up in LA, so many job offers from, there's hundreds. And when I say hundreds within us, I mean it.
Yeah.
Production companies in LA. Yeah. In Knoxville, there was only 5.
Yeah.
So it's a risk that we weren't willing to take. And we do talk about it. Like I have very little regrets. And it's not that I have regret for this, but we do have the what if. We do that all the time with Knoxville because
we were close. Because we were so close. That's why. It was a near miss.
Yeah.
If I had shown up there and hated the town, I would have been like, no big deal. Like, I'm going to work here for 3 weeks and then I'm out and I'll go back to LA, you know?
And they spent a lot of money entertaining us. I mean, they flew me out. They put you up in a really nice hotel. Like, they wanted this to work. And it really, like, for all of us, we were all so disappointed because we wanted it to work too. But I guess in our heads, it was like James had been 10 years in, like you said. And it was as though we knew there was always going to be like more opportunity for you in LA. We didn't know where this job would take us. Like,
no, I didn't know if I was going to have to moonlight at one of the 4 other companies other than the one I was working for.
Yeah.
And I didn't know, like at the time they had programming on like Speed Channel. Remember Speed Channel?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah. They had a tow truck show on there called Wrecked. I think it was Wrecked or something like that. And so I cut one episode of that, and they had other shows on other things, but ultimately what happened is there was a partner in Knoxville for this production company, and the other partner lived in New York, and he was the one that would do like a lot of the pitching and stuff like that. So he was the mover and shaker up in New York. The guy in Knoxville was sort of, I think, more in charge of overseeing production and, you know, delivering shows and all that other stuff. Well, that partner in Knoxville eventually sold out his share. So I think the lion's share of everything that they do now is from New York. I know they still have a footprint in Knoxville.
Okay,
but
let's tell Phil what their big show is right now.
Have you ever heard of this show, Impractical Jokers?
Yeah, that show was huge.
I know they have spin-offs now and everything.
Yeah, that's their show now. Do you believe it? That is their
big,
there it is, their show. So James would have done just fine, but it was too many variables.
There was too many ifs.
Yeah, out of all the places that, you know, you guys have done that I've heard you talk about, this one seems like the one that got away.
For sure.
Yeah, it's always felt that way. Now, I mean, okay, so all that said, I stayed in downtown when they put me up and when I was working for them and everything, and I didn't want to do that again this time around. But before, I booked a hotel down in this area called Farragut, Farragut. It's more of a suburb. I knew it was going to be a little more strip malls and everything. It approaches Murfreesboro in a way, but not as, like, there are some big mansions and everything there. There's some really nice houses there. Definitely more of an affluent suburb. But before I went to check into my hotel, I did go to 3 out of the old neighborhoods. You actually mentioned one of them already, and that's Old City, Knoxville. So Old City, Knoxville is where the train depot used to be. And back in the day, it was where the saloons and the gambling and the houses of ill repute were all stationed. It was officially the red light district in the town at one point. Unofficially, several points. Officially at one point, and now today it was an area, like when I visited, it was actually on St. Patty's Day weekend, and it was an area of great revelry.
Everyone was having a good old time.
Yeah, it was good, and it's really not that far from where we were at in Market Square and this sort of gay street in the downtown and all that. So it was great to see that again. One thing that I also thought was fantastic is there's an area called 4th and Gill. And historically, that has more of the Victorians, some craftsmen, a lot of bungalow, country style, like bungalow houses with like just a lot of character and everything. It's a great neighborhood. It's a really diverse neighborhood. I think in the past it's been an area where sort of all the artisans in town and everything. Strangely enough, like there are areas in Tennessee that are like progressive when it comes to women's issues, when it comes to Native American issues, all those things. And Knoxville had a lot of poets and painters and musicians and all sorts of artisans at one time.
And when we were there in 2012, we had our fair share. We're like, oh, this place is really eclectic and arty. Like when we came back, everyone kept saying, Tennessee. And I'm like, no, Knoxville is not. It really, I kept saying to everyone, it's kind of an extension of Nashville. Like it's a smaller version of Nashville. I wouldn't say that now, not having been to Nashville. I couldn't say that now, but having been to Nashville back then, I could actually say it's like a smaller version of Nashville.
Yeah, it is. In just as cool a way. I mean, I always like
just what?
As cool a way.
Oh, okay.
I always like the fact that you could still find, like you said, it's a smaller scale and
there's live music
you can find
everywhere.
just as much music everywhere.
Absolutely. So let's get into the real estate.
Let's get into the real estate. So Farragut, I already mentioned. West Knoxville is where the most affluent houses tend to be. And that's where a lot of, I think, probably people who can work remotely now and et cetera come.
Okay.
A little more subdivision-y for sure. You can also find a big fat, McMansion there. Mm-hmm. Doesn't have as much character as the rest of the city.
Right.
So that's kind of the downside. A lot of people will warn you off of East Knoxville because East Knoxville is, I should mention, by the way, Alex Haley, the author who wrote Roots, is from Knoxville, I believe, because there's a big Alex Haley park right there. I don't know if it's in East Knoxville or not, but anyway, I think it's on the way. And I actually went by it. They have a huge statue of this guy, like a huge
life size,
bigger, like kids must play on the thing.
Well, he did win a Pulitzer Prize, so that's something to celebrate.
Yeah. So anyway, East Knoxville though is kind of patchy. It can be either neighborhoods where if you're a white boy looking for the wrong thing to entertain yourself on a Saturday night, and I'm talking in terms of chemicals and drugs, you could probably find it there. But also, like if you go down the street a little bit, so you have you can find a gang there in East Knoxville. And if you drive down,
white? Is it a white gang?
No, it's a black gang.
Oh, okay.
And so, but if you go down the street a little bit, you'll also find sort of your good old Southern redneck Confederate flag on the front porch, smoking cigarettes kind of guy.
Wait,
it's a weird budding. Yes,
no,
they're all like it's like the area is patchy.
So I get crack over here, and then I can get a Confederate flag across the street.
Think LA, where you got the Bloods here, and then the Mexican gangs over like right next to it. And
okay,
I don't know.
Everyone just minds their own business.
It doesn't seem particularly violent. Like I'm sure there are people that would argue Knoxville does have a big homeless population.
I was going to talk about
transient population.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I wanted to talk about that because in 2012, I didn't see any homeless people.
Right.
In 2024, I saw a lot of homeless people, and I was just like, they don't have programs set up or something.
They actually do, and there was a mission there. I mean, there are some, obviously there are some walking around the city, especially in the downtown area. You'll see some panhandlers and all that other stuff. But they do have programs. And I remembered this when I was looking for the office where I used to work, because in between the part of town where all the federal buildings and the courthouses are and all that, there's sort of a strip where there are a few missions and rescues.
Okay. Yeah. So maybe it was just spilling over.
People standing in long lines of people standing in line for housing or, accommodations, I should say, or food.
Well, if it's located near the square or the downtown area of Gay Street, then maybe that's what I was seeing is the overflow of that.
When you don't have a job and you're looking for, it's walkable. So you can make it from one side to the other in a relatively short amount of time. So,
all right. So real estate wise, what are we looking at? Because you and I actually looked at a house. We actually went in and looked at a house.
So let's talk about that.
Okay.
I believe it was somewhere on the southeastern side of Knoxville.
Now, wasn't the area, correct me if I'm wrong, called River Valley?
Oh, yeah. You know what? You're right.
Yeah.
And I think I'm off. I think where you're talking about is not southeast.
So we ended up finding this little pocket of country. It's really the only way to describe it. A little pocket of country with houses sprinkled all through the woods.
Yeah.
And we saw one on homes.com and actually drove to it and was pleasantly surprised because in all of our travels, it's very rare when we find something on homes.com or Zillow where we actually go to the home and we're happy with what we see. There's something about those pictures. They always look so much better.
That's their job.
Always. And so we had like 8 houses we were going to, drive by, and 7 of them were just crap, even though I always do a street view, always. And I do that little where I turn the camera around to see what the neighbors are looking like and all that. These 7 were so bad. And I kept saying to you, I have no idea. The street view looked fine. And then this 8th one was pretty fantastic. It was a house legitimately in the woods. And so we called the agent listed and we went and looked inside. It was beautiful. The only thing is it was 2,300 square feet. I think it was listed for what was it?
It was 5 something.
525, I think it was 525. And the issue was how the 2,300 square feet was divided. So it was a house that was built on stilts because it was elevated on a hill.
Nope.
No.
That's that WPS again.
Wait, black people don't do stilt houses?
Black people don't do houses in the woods, for one.
Okay.
And house on stilts?
No.
Nope.
All right. Even if there's no record of earthquakes in the area.
Still, your house is on stilts, dog.
So, okay, we go in the house. We have to go up a few flights because it's on stilts. And the way the 2,300 square feet was divided was through 3 stories.
Yeah.
And so it just like the kitchen and living room were 1. And so if you take, 2,300 and divide it by 3, you're roughly around 750 square feet per floor. And that just isn't a lot. We're big
smaller.
people. We're big people. Our kids are big. Yeah. So it's like we need space. And so it was such a bummer because everything about this house was beautiful. But then I found another house, which was phenomenal. It was 4,000 square feet. 4,000 square feet for, what was it, 525? It was almost the same price, or 500. I think it was 500. Like it was unbelievable. So we had to go by. It had one of those, like the Rapunzel tower where she like lets down her hair.
A parapet or whatever, right?
It had a Rapunzel tower. I don't know what it's called, but it had a Rapunzel tower. And so I was like, let's go see this house. The downside is that the house is off a busy street. It's not tucked away in the woods. It may have been at one time, but now the neighborhood is developed with other big houses, but it's like you see your neighbor. You walk outside and you see your neighbor. So we pulled up and we were like, like so disappointed about the area. So James turns the car around, parks in front of the house and decides like, let's look on GPS. Let's look for another house. So then what happened?
We were sitting in the car and there was a gentleman who was working on his yard right across the street. So he would have been a potential neighbor. And he looked at us once or twice. It wasn't anything mean or anything like that. But then at some point he puts down the weed whacker and he starts like crossing the street toward our car. And you, in your city tone, say, "Oh God, what's this guy want?" And he comes over and he goes, "Hey, is everything okay?" And I was like, "Yeah, we're just like flipping through pictures of this house or whatever." And, I don't know. We're thinking maybe it's not for us or something. I forget what I said, but
you just literally said, we drove by to look at this house. Yeah. And then he said, "Don't buy it."
That's pretty much what he said. Yeah.
He said, "Don't buy it." And he went through all the things wrong with this house. And then when we left, I was like, he's got a bone to pick with them. I was literally like, he has a bone to pick with them. He went through how the daughter lives in California and isn't willing to come down on the price, even though there's black mold everywhere. The roof is falling in.
The backyard faces the church, so on Sunday mornings you get a full blast of like the bells right in your windows.
Oh, he went through, and it's like he stood outside every time there was a potential buyer because he told us about this one family that went through their inspection and had a roofer come out. Then he talked about another one who came out and he knew that they had gone left too. Yep. I was like, oh, he knows everything.
it had been in and out of escrow a couple times.
He knew that.
He had been there to see it all.
So as much as I was annoyed with his friendliness, because he was just a friendly guy, but the moment someone starts acting friendly, I'm always cautioned. I'm always cautioned.
He's Chicagoans. You're like, oh God, what
does he want? I was like,
what
does he want? Why? I said to you, why is he walking over here right now?
He's neighborly.
He was
doing us a solid.
He actually was.
Don't buy this house.
And we decided to drive on.
We did drive on.
Yeah.
So those were the few houses we looked at in Knoxville. Of special note, though, I do want to mention, and this goes all the way back to 2012, one of the two things we really liked about Knoxville, and I think a lot of other people would like, is number one, it's a university town. Mm-hmm. University of Tennessee is there. Who's the most famous University of Tennessee volunteer? Their mascot is a volunteer. Who's the most famous alumni?
The guy from The Blind Side.
The guy from The Blind Side?
Yeah, he went to University of Tennessee.
Okay, how about Peyton Manning?
Oh, okay.
Okay. Let's start with him first, okay? The guy from The Blind Side whose name you can't even remember.
I think he went to the University of Tennessee. Go ahead.
Sandra Bullock's kid, right?
I think I know somebody more popular, though.
Oh, who?
It has to do with the collegiate side, though. Come on, Coach Pat Summit.
Oh, Pat Summit.
She was a god there.
She's the most winningest coach in women's basketball history. Or NCAA basketball history, right?
Yeah,
Oh.
She I think she passed away last year, or the year before that.
Oh, she passed away?
I think she did pass away.
I'm slow on the news. I did not realize that. But yeah, the winningest coach in basketball history, male or female.
That's incredible.
Coach Pat Summit, yeah.
Wow, what a huge honor.
She's
I think she's bigger than Peyton in that school.
In that
realm.
area, I guess. Yeah, I think I would say that.
Phil trumps you.
Phil, I mean, he's got the fact checker going on over there, but he didn't even need it for this one. He really is turning into AI, Chat GPT over there.
Phil GPT.
Phil GPT.
The other thing I wanted to mention, though, and you can speak to this quickly, is it also has an airport. And
it's amazing.
I want you to talk real quick about the Tyson McGee Airport. And it's actually just outside of Knoxville in Alcoa.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's like you feel like you're in a little country airport. You land, you go right to the curb, and you are picked up. I mean, it's unbelievable. I cannot believe this airport services Knoxville. It's not overcrowded. I don't understand how they do it. You came to pick me up, so simple. I got off the plane, walked right to the door. It's incredible. That airport alone is a reason to move to Knoxville.
Very well done. I like the way you did that. So could you live there?
I could. I actually could. I just need a little more time there. So it's a city that we're going to do a month in. I want to see how their winters are. I want to see if their winters are more like South Carolina winters, where they're like mild, meaning like they're in the 50s, high 40s, or if they're a Connecticut winter, or a Kentucky winter, which is really snowy, low 20s, high teens. So I want to do it in the winter. So yes, I could. How about you?
Yeah, I mean, just knowing the fact that you could do it makes me think that, yeah, I could probably do it.
I think the kids would love it.
I do think the kids would love it.
Our friends would love it.
Yeah.
Phil would get on just fine there.
The Smoky Mountain National Park is nearby, so you can do all your river floating and your lakes and your hiking and all that business. It's got tons to offer. It really does. The only thing I would say is the downtown, like the freeway runs through the downtown and everything, and that's fine, whatever. There is a part of me that feels like Knoxville is kind of like really spread out quickly. It spreads out quickly. You know what I mean?
Agreed.
Like you have the city part, and then immediately it's like country. And in a way, that's really cool if you can find the right pocket. But because it's so spread out and sort of segmented and pocketed that way, like you said, it's going to take a little more research. It's going to take a little more traveling.
So, Phil, I know you won't move into a house on stilts in the woods, but would you visit friends that live in a house on stilts in the woods?
Yes. I had to seriously think about it, though.
You did.
Just as long as you're not bringing like a pet wolf or anything.
No pet wolf.
No pet wolf.
And no polar plungers over there either. So
No promise on the polar plunge.
I ain't doing that.
Yeah. One downside, though, we got to say, and this is just generally, so we talked about a lot of places in Tennessee in this episode. Tennessee is number 10 on the list of the January 6th rioters who have been arrested. So that's number 10 on the list.
So wait, number 10 meaning like most
like
of
the 10th most.
Wait, the 10th most rioters came from Tennessee.
10th most traitors or whatever, seditionists, whatever you want to call them, have been
freedom fighters, man.
Freedom. I know one man's freedom fighter
is another man's
rebel.
Everybody know I didn't tell them to do that.
Yeah.
I didn't tell them to do that.
Okay, so what's number 1? Well, if they're number 10.
Florida.
It is Florida. It's totally Florida, Phil.
Number 1 is Florida.
Number 1 is Florida. Guess number 2.
Texas.
Texas is number 2.
Oh, see, I got that one.
You guys are really good at this game.
Okay,
All
number
right,
3.
I don't remember the rest of the order.
Oh, come on.
But I'll tell you this.
This is a fun game.
I know it is a fun game. But California, believe it or not, is number 4. I think 4 or 5.
Orange County is huge. Big,
I know.
and then you've got a lot of parts that are in like the desert, like Palmdale, Lancaster. There's all rednecks that live there. Mm-hmm. So yeah.
Yeah, and New Jersey makes the top 10.
What?
Yeah, New Jersey. A lot of J6 rioters from New Jersey have been popped. Pennsylvania, I think, is number 4, actually.
I'm not surprised.
Michigan.
There's a lot of woods in Pennsylvania.
There are a lot of, even though it's a blue state, it's a very purpley
Wait,
state.
hold on. Is New Jersey Proud Boys?
No, I think that's Oregon. Right?
So
Isn't that
what
outside of
faction
Portland?
is out of Jersey
Idaho.
that's like anti-government?
It's just,
The mafia.
No, mafia is usually not anti-government. I just can't imagine Italians getting dressed up and going to riot. I'm sorry, Italians are out for me. I just don't picture.
There are plenty from Long Island. Maybe they're just Irish. I'm not sure. But
I
there were
say
people
Irish,
from New
yes.
York and
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Florida's number 1.
Florida's
well, you know what?
number 1.
I actually am not surprised. I am surprised, but I'm not surprised. I just met a Florida man. Let's call him the Florida man.
She did. This is a good story.
Holocaust denier, and told me
/ plumber.
Holocaust denier told me that the slaves in Florida didn't have it so bad. Here's 2 things that I was so bothered, and it bothered me for days. How did he know I wasn't Jewish?
Right?
And how did he know that he could talk? What made him think that he could talk to me that way?
Oh, I have that answer. He just doesn't care.
That was
my
pretty
sister-in-law
obvious.
and brother said the same thing. He just didn't care. But how do you run a business? He was a business owner. He wasn't the guy that worked there. He owned the business, and he could talk. He could tell me the Holocaust. He denied the Holocaust, and then told me that what he actually told me is that Roots was a fiction book, and people should get it straight. It was a fiction book, and that he's been born and raised in Florida his whole life, knows generations of people, and some of them had slaves, and some of those slaves didn't have it so bad.
Interesting.
You know what I said to him?
What?
Nothing.
Good.
Because I never mess with crazy.
You don't engage in that.
You absolutely do not. He went in the other room, and I said to him, I go, okay, see ya. I literally go, okay. I was like, you got to go.
Yeah, I went in the other room because he had been talking for so long, and I was like trying to give him the cue, like, okay, like, so show up at the house, fix the sink, get your money, leave. Like, that's how I would run my plumbing business.
Here's the sad thing about it all. That sink had been leaking for 5 months, 4 plumbers. He was the 4th one, and he fixed it.
He's the only one to fix it.
I can never call him.
You know what? Know what he used to fix it, though, right? Hate.
You're right. He
It
did.
worked.
Yeah.
It totally worked.
And he wasn't your typical white supremacist. He didn't look like what you think he would have looked like. Like, in your head, what did he think he looked like, this man?
So he wasn't a biker.
Nope.
So, okay, this guy, I'm good at this game though. So, definitely not Super Mario. So he didn't have a big bushy mustache.
He had a beard.
He had a beard though. Was it gray? Was it gray and black?
It was black.
Just a black beard.
Yep.
Okay, was he a white guy?
You're close with Mario.
Okay.
You're close with Mario. He looked like long-haired, curly Italian heavy metal guy.
Like in a band, like Slayer,
Chubby.
like Pantera.
Oh,
like,
so he like Danzig and all those. Those guys.
He's
were
probably a
racist.
Danzig guy.
Danzig
he
was
definitely
racist.
has a swastika tattooed somewhere on his body. Danzig.
You think so? Because he was Okay, so
He kept telling
his whole
me.
stick was how he was a history major in college, but he made more money as a plumber.
He felt the need to tell me over and over again he was educated. And I don't know why, because all I said to him was hello. Like, literally, I had no conversation
I'm
with him.
smart. Holocaust wasn't real.
He did.
That's pretty much how it went.
Yep.
That's what I heard from the other room. And then there did come a point where I was like, okay, I'm going to have to get up and usher this guy. Like, come on, time to run along.
So a J6 rider, Florida being number one.
That tracks.
It does track.
So with that in mind, we're going to wrap up the Knoxville episode. Sounds like there's a little to be continued, though, in Tennessee between Chattanooga and giving Knoxville a more fair shake.
Absolutely. So I think we'll be back and checking like Chattanooga out for a longer period of time and definitely giving Knoxville more time as well.
Sounds good. Let's do it.
Empty nest, full tank.
Check the mic and make sure it sound right, boys.